Before Josh and I started working together, I think I was in the same position as a lot of fitness business owners or business owners, entrepreneurs in general, in that every day was just kind of putting out fires. So I was dealing with clients, preparing their sessions, running from one thing to the next. And every day I would have a list that was a mile long of things to do. And my own health and fitness and mental wellness was kind of at the bottom of that list. So if things were busy, that was the first thing to get dropped off the list. So I really felt at the end of each day frustrated that I hadn't accomplished enough, and especially that I hadn't taken care of myself or really moved the needle forward in terms of my business. Every day was just kind of getting through the day and preparing maybe for the next day, but I didn't really have a long-term vision in mind for what I wanted to achieve. And that felt really frustrating. So Josh approached me to do kind of an informational interview, and through a couple of conversations that we had, I decided to work with him. It was an interesting idea because I had done a lot of programs online and I had read my fair share of business books and self-help books. I've been in some therapy. So there was a part of me that I think kind of had a chip on my shoulder because I wasn't sure what he could teach me that I didn't already know about. So I tried to be open about it because I liked his energy and I liked his approach. And I thought, well, at the very least, I'm going to get to implement something. So yeah, it was just kind of an experiment, but yeah, I wasn't certain what was going to happen. So as Josh and I worked together every week, it became very clear to me that the process that we were going through was actually remarkably simple, but it wasn't necessarily always the easiest thing. Each week we would have a conversation, and in that conversation we would decide together what was actually important. So rather than think of this process as just another thing that I had to add to my to-do list, we actually really looked at what I was doing in a given day or week, and we started to strip some stuff away. So it became this process of determining what actually mattered and what would actually give me the skills or the energy or the tools to do the things that I wanted to do and to achieve the things I wanted to do. So it really was a process of becoming less busy and more actual productivity or results. And one of the things that was interesting about it was, it would only be like sort of 2 or 3 activities a week that I would focus on. And I wouldn't always get it right. And as a driven perfectionist, that was sometimes really hard to not check that box on whatever thing I was supposed to be working on. But every step of the way, I never felt guilty or ashamed. I was always feeling reassured that this was just a learning process, and if something didn't work or it didn't get done, it wasn't necessarily that I was doing a bad job. It was just that a piece was missing, and we figured out together what that piece was, and then went back and tried again. So every step of the way was like, this learning process, and it actually made it a lot easier because I actually learned things instead of just checking things off a box. I actually learned how to do stuff well and learned what worked for me, and sometimes it was stuff I had not considered before. So that was very illuminating. One of the things that surprised me about the results in my business was this very simple idea that if I kept filling the well of my own health and my own mental wellness, that I would have enough to give more to my clients and to my business. So that process really surprised me. In the last few months, I've gotten a lot more in-person clients, and I've also been able to launch an online program, which is something I never considered doing before. I originally created something to offer to, a dozen of my clients, and now I've more than doubled the people who are enrolled in it. The courage it's given me to like put that stuff out there and just try and learn from it and come away and apply those lessons to the next time means that I'll be able to grow my business and reach people who aren't just in my neighborhood. I'll be able to share it with a much larger audience. And that's something I never dreamed I would be able to do before.